Now, when it comes to decluttering, you probably have more than just physical space to clear. You have head and heart space too. And they are full of years of memories, of grief, loss, love, beliefs, and maybe other people's opinions too. So it might be time to do a big clear out. Let's go. Hi guys, it's Laura, and I would say that clutter in general is something that is doing more to detract from your life than it is adding value to your life. And obviously then that can be applied to much more than just physical clutter, much more than just physical items. So let's talk mental and emotional clutter too, and how to overcome it. And I'm not gonna lie, the past week or so for me has just been a big pile of suck. There is a lot of mental and emotional clutter going on right now. Just had a long hot shower, I've tied my hair up, put on a dress. This is phase one of me trying to deal with this. Now obviously I'm not a therapist, I'm not a doctor. This is just my own personal experience and my personal opinions and the things that have helped me over the years. Because if you've been following this channel for a while, chances are you have probably done some physical decluttering, but maybe now you're finding that something is kind of in your way. Something is interfering with your happiness or your well-being. Something is stopping you from achieving your goals or becoming the person that you want to be or living the life that you want to live. So I want to start with the smallest, simplest mental decluttering tips and then move on to the heavy hitters if you find that those initial ones are just not quite doing the job for you. I personally am going to be working my way through these. The very first one then is having a gratitude list, but with a bit of a twist. So let me give you a personal story of one way that it has helped and then the ways that I have kind of adjusted it, and you may find that helpful too. If kind of a normal gratitude list, just writing 1 to 5 things that you're grateful for, isn't quite enough. But the kind of normal way, so back when I was suffering from postnatal depression, I wasn't journaling at the time, but I was trying to write down 3 things every day that I was grateful for. And at the time, it was just an exercise. I didn't get anything out of it at the time. Honestly, sometimes it was very frustrating, and honestly, sometimes it was demoralizing because I was going through such a rough time, and it felt almost, I was annoyed that I had to kind of search for good things. But I will say, looking back, so about 2 to 3 years afterwards, when I looked back at my gratitude lists, it helped me after the fact, because when I look back at that time, sometimes I have a tendency to think that it was all darkness and doom and gloom, and I don't look back at it with rose-tinted glasses whatsoever. Quite the opposite. But when I went back through my gratitude list, I was able to see that actually there were some moments of joy in there, and there were some moments that I could take solace and comfort in. And that brings me some comfort now. But the way that I have adjusted it over the years is to focus on something specific rather than just having a generic kind of all-encompassing gratitude list. For example, let's say you are working a job that you are unhappy in, and right now you can't find another job. Maybe you're in the process of that, or it's just not possible for you right now. Maybe you are, going through a rough patch in your relationship. Maybe it's something like low self-esteem issues, in which case you could have a love yourself list where each day you write down something that you love about yourself. Now, if you find that that's not quite getting you there, the next thing then has had a massive impact on my life, and that is journaling. But I am not the kind of Dear Diary type journaler. I don't do deep dives. Generally what I do is just recount what's happening and my general feelings about things. I don't really go too in depth with it. But this helps me in 2 ways. The very first is that when you are forced to kind of put words on how you're feeling, you have to get very clear on what it is you are feeling and why you are feeling that way. When you have to describe it, it really helps you to identify what the issue is and really get to the root of that problem. But the second way it helps me, and this is probably the biggest in all honesty, is looking back. Again, kind of like the gratitude list, but when I look back over old journal entries, I start to notice things. For me personally, I am not a big picture thinker. I find it very difficult to see how things kind of interact or relate to each other. I am very much a kind of single event type person, and I take things in isolation. I'm very detail oriented, and then but I do find it difficult then, like I said, to kind of zoom out and see how everything works together. Whereas when I have a journal, and at the end of each year I will sit down and reread my journal entries from that past year, then I can kind of see the year as a single event. It becomes much easier for me to notice patterns of behavior when I'm reading them kind of one after another. It also becomes much easier for me to notice maybe that a similar incident occurred in the past and how I made it through that incident. So maybe it just kind of resolved itself on its own, or maybe I put some strategies in place, but it can be really helpful to look back and see how I dealt with previous situations. But honestly, probably the biggest way it helps is because when I look back at all of those things that seemed like a big deal at the time and now in hindsight are not, that helps me in a moment when I feel like this is the end of the world, this is terrible. I can think to myself, no, someday this will just be a journal entry. Okay, so obviously we're talking about mental and emotional decluttering, but a lot of that can be impacted by physical decluttering. Now I know, like I said at the beginning of this, if you've watched this channel for any length of time, chances are you have done some physical decluttering. But what I would say is, while you are decluttering, create space for yourself. Be very conscious and intentional about creating a specific corner or room or whatever, like a little nook in your home that is just for you. This is mine, my little reading nook. But what it does is it gives you somewhere to retreat to, somewhere that you feel safe and comfortable and like yourself. The last week or so, because, mentally, emotionally, I have been struggling. Physically, my house is struggling because I let all of the chores and errands and stuff slide. So there is a lot I have to catch up on. But when I come up here to my little reading nook, this is where I feel safe and secure and like I can just relax and kind of close the doors on everything else temporarily. This is my safe space to just come and relax and let it all go. Physical decluttering has over the years cleared out a lot of mental space for me too, and that has been great, but it really helps if you do intentionally create one specific place for yourself, if you declutter with that in mind. So if you don't currently have one space in your home where you feel that that is your space, then create that this week. And then sometimes, like with physical decluttering, it can be great to have someone else's help, an extra pair of hands or a pair of listening ears that will just ease the burden and halve the problem. Someone who can bring a fresh perspective and just a different experience, or just some support. So talk to a friend or a family member. Now, if you're like me, you probably find this incredibly difficult, opening up about your feelings. So what I did was I started small, just sharing little bits and pieces of information until over time I started to build up my confidence. I started to be able to articulate myself and my feelings a little bit more, and I started to build up a layer of trust with that other person. Now, if you have done all that and you're still struggling, it may be time for this final step. After years of being a perfectionist and thinking that I know what's best for me and I'm the only person who can do the job, I have finally decided to start seeing a therapist again. I was 23 when I first started seeing a therapist, and even though I have, moved on since then, even though I am not in the same place anymore, there's still a lot in this attic that I have yet to unpack, and over the years I have added some extra stuff along the way. It is time for me to do another deep mental declutter, and that is where BetterHelp comes in. They are the sponsor of this video. And honestly, I am so grateful and I'm so excited to work with them, because with everything that is going on in the world, access to online therapy is such a game changer. It means that you can stay in the comfort and safety and security of your own home. It's much easier for you to feel more comfortable in your own home than it is maybe sitting in some waiting room. Also, if like me, you hate confrontation, because BetterHelp want to match you with a great therapist, like a therapist that is a really good fit for you, you can easily change your therapist completely free of charge if it's just not quite working out. And just in general, it's cheaper than traditional like in-person therapy. And also they do have financial aid available. They are worldwide and they have over 15,000 counselors, which is great if you do not have access to one in your local area. I want to explain a little bit more about it and about kind of my experience with it thus far, but if you are ready to dive in and get started, go to BetterHelp, that's HELP.com/howtogyst. There are over 1 million people on there, of which I am one, who are taking control of their mental health with the help of a professional. And for viewers of this channel, they are offering 10% off your first month. So go to BetterHelp, HELP.com/howtogyst. Now, I know sometimes the unknown can be scary. I definitely find this difficult if I am in kind of a new situation and I don't know what to expect. That on its own can bring up feelings of anxiety. So I wanted to kind of walk you through the sign up process, exactly what it's like. So you go to the website either on your laptop or on your device and you choose whether you want individual, couples or teen counseling. After that, you answer some questions about yourself, general kind of demographic questions. They will ask you questions about how you've been feeling recently and then ask you to share a little bit more information about what you are currently looking for help with. Now, their counselors have a wide range of expertise. Took a little screenshot here on my phone. So depression, stress, anxiety, relationship issues or family conflicts, trauma and abuse, intimacy related issues, anger management, lots of different things like that. The one that I chose specifically was parenting issues because of my postnatal depression and the fact that I never spoke to anyone at the time. I still have, I feel, a lot of kind of residual issues around that, a lot of things that were never resolved and now I would like them to be resolved. I want to be able to deal with and cope and declutter some of those old feelings. You know, like in the KonMari method where she talks about leaving the hardest clutter until last, I feel like this is mine. And maybe it is for all of us, you know, maybe mental and emotional clutter is the next level of decluttering for us. Maybe it's kind of, you know, something that we graduate to after we have done some amount of physical decluttering. But you don't have to do it alone. You know, I tried to do it alone and yes, I got through it, but was it the best way to handle it? No. Am I still suffering in some ways because of it? Yes. So now is the time for me to take control of that mental aspect of my health and with the help of a professional work my way through it. What happens then is that they will assess your needs and they will match you to a licensed professional therapist who will get in touch with you within 48 hours. For me personally, it was much quicker. It was within a few hours. She reached out to me and introduced herself. She told me about all her certifications and her experience, her areas of expertise. And then I was very easily able to respond to her and we were able to chat back and forth. It's very much like DMing a friend. That's what it feels like. And you can just log in anytime and send a message and then you will get back a timely and thoughtful response. Now, obviously, BetterHelp is not a crisis line, but it is a step up from self-help if you find that you are really struggling through some mental or emotional issues. It is professional counseling. It is done securely online. It is very quick, very accessible. They really want you to start living a happier life today. So if you are ready to share the load or offload some of that clutter, then visit BetterHelp, HELP.com/howtogyst. Get on it. Your health, both physical and mental, is your wealth. But I am definitely ready to take control of clutter in all areas of my life. I am turning 37 next week, and I feel like it will be a year of releasing for me, you know, letting go a lot of stuff, not just physical stuff. I am ready. I am prepared. Let me know if you are ready and prepared to release all of that mental and emotional clutter once and for all as well. And until next time, go raibh míle maith agam. Agus feici mé sibh siad go luath. Slán!